2025 was not just the year of heat waves, floods, and climate anxiety. It was also the year the world quietly hit some of the biggest sustainability milestones in history, and almost nobody talked about them. From coal being cancelled, to entire regions going solar, to billions flowing into protecting nature. So what actually went right for the planet this year? Welcome to the Green Blueprint. Today, we're doing your climate-wrapped 2025. 12 months, 12 massive wins. If you care about the planet and want more good news data like this, tap subscribe and follow on Instagram at the Green Blueprint _TGB for your weekly hit of climate optimism and simple actions you can take. All right, let's rewind the year. This is your 2025 Sustainability Year in Review. It's not about your Spotify playlist, but for our planet. January. The year started with a plot twist in the UK. For the first time ever, the UK generated more electricity from renewables than from fossil fuels over a full year. Think about that for a second. Wind, solar, and other clean sources didn't just catch up, they beat coal, oil, and gas. It's not perfect, the UK still burns gas, but this is what a tipping point looks like. The country that literally kicked off the coal-powered industrial revolution just showed the world that a cleaner grid is not sci-fi. It's happening right now. February, the money started to move. After years of empty promises, governments and financial institutions finally agreed to mobilize around $200 billion every year for biodiversity by 2030. That's funding to protect forests, wetlands, coral reefs, and endangered species, not just on paper, but with real, tracked finance. Is it enough to fix nature? No. But for the first time, there's a global finance plan to pay for protecting life on Earth, instead of just destroying it for free. This is the invisible backbone behind every forest, every wetland, every species comeback story we'll see over the next decade. March. We zoom into a single district in Sweden that looks like it was designed by the future. Welcome to Hyllie in Malmö, one of Europe's boldest climate-smart urban districts. Here, buildings are designed to be energy efficient from the ground up. Waste heat from industry is reused for heating homes, and the entire area is planned to be 100% renewable and climate neutral. Why does one neighborhood matter? Because Hyllie isn't just a cute eco-village, it's a scalable blueprint for how cities everywhere can slash emissions while staying livable, modern, and comfortable. If you want to know what your city could look like in 10 to 15 years, Malmö is basically sending us a postcard from the future. April, and the milestone a lot of scientists have been waiting for. For the first time, the world passed 40% clean electricity. That means that, globally, more than 4 out of every 10 units of power on the grid now come from renewables and nuclear instead of fossil fuels. Yes, fossil fuels are still a big chunk. But here's the important part. Every single year, clean power is grabbing more of the pie, while coal and gas slowly lose ground. We are not just talking about targets anymore, the actual grid is changing, and 40% is a big psychological and technical step on the road to a majority clean world. Quick check, which story so far surprised you the most? Drop January, February, March, or April in the comments, and let's see where the hope is landing for you. May, and the quiet revolution on the roads. Across the European Union, electric vehicle adoption surged again in 2025. In some countries, 1 out of every 2 new cars sold is now electric or plug-in hybrid, which means less oil burned, less tailpipe pollution, and less money flowing to fossil fuel companies. Are EVs perfect? No. They still need batteries, charging, infrastructure. But each EV that replaces a petrol car is basically a mini climate policy on wheels, cutting emissions every single day for years. And the more EVs plug into a grid that's getting cleaner, the more powerful this feedback loop becomes. June, and solar steps onto the main stage. For the first time ever, solar power became the largest single source of electricity in the European Union. Panels on rooftops, fields of solar farms, and industrial projects combined to beat out gas, coal, and even wind. 10 years ago, solar was the expensive, niche option. Now, it's the workhorse of Europe's power system, and costs have fallen so far that in many places, it's the cheapest way to generate electricity, full stop. This is what an exponential curve looks like when it finally reaches your monthly bill. July. And policy catches up with physics. The EU and the UK both moved towards strong 2040 climate targets, locking in steeper emissions cuts on the road to net zero. That means clearer signals for businesses, clearer timelines for phasing out fossil fuels, and clearer expectations for investment in clean energy, transport, and buildings. Are these targets perfect or fully funded yet? No, but they matter because they turn climate action from vibes into law. When regions like the EU and UK raise their ambition, it raises the floor for the rest of the world too. August, and we cross the Atlantic. At COP30, countries across Latin America came together to launch a clean energy coalition focused on scaling renewables, modernizing grids, and unlocking new investment across the region. From Brazil to Mexico, from the Caribbean to the Andes, governments are saying out loud that clean power is not just climate policy, it's an economic development strategy. This is huge because Latin America has some of the best wind, sun, and hydropower resources on Earth. If this coalition delivers, it could turn the region into one of the world's most important clean energy powerhouses. September, we go to Australia, where rooftops basically turned into a national solar farm. Australia didn't just hit its 2030 rooftop solar goal, it smashed it years early. Mass adoption by households and businesses means daytime demand from the grid is collapsing in some regions because so many roofs are generating their own power. Australia still exports a lot of fossil fuels, but inside the country, rooftops are quietly proving that citizens can move faster than politicians when the tech is affordable and the sun is this strong. If you're still here, first of all, you are a legend. Second, tell me in the comments which region is surprising you the most this year. Europe, Latin America, Australia, or somewhere else. October, and we can't talk about global energy without talking about China. In 2025, China pushed toward a record year, racing toward around 300 gigawatts of new solar capacity built in a single year. That's more solar than many countries have installed in their entire history, added in just 12 months. Yes, China still burns a lot of coal, but this solar build-out is rewiring the future of its grid. And when the world's largest emitter pivots this hard toward renewables, the ripple effects hit global supply chains, prices, and technology everywhere. November, a different kind of victory, this time in Kenya. After years of campaigning, legal challenges and community resistance, Kenya moved to halt the controversial Lamu coal project on its coast. That decision protects mangroves, fisheries, local livelihoods, and prevents millions of tons of future CO2 emissions from ever entering the atmosphere. This is what climate justice can look like. Communities saying no to new fossil infrastructure and yes to a different development path before the damage is locked in. And finally, December. While the world was winding down for the holidays, Microsoft and Power Trust were busy rolling out around 270 megawatts of distributed solar across Mexico and Brazil. Instead of one giant plant in the middle of nowhere, this is a web of rooftops and community-scale projects, delivering clean power, local jobs, and more resilient grids. It's a glimpse of a future where tech companies don't just offset their emissions on paper, but actually help build the clean energy systems that communities rely on every day. So, step back for a second. In just 1 year, we saw a historic shift to clean electricity in the UK and across Europe. Billions committed to restoring nature. A Swedish district quietly prototyping the city of the future. Latin America forming a clean energy alliance. Australia turning rooftops into a solar powerhouse. China building solar at mind-bending scale. Kenya stopping a coal plant before it was built. And community solar projects in Mexico and Brazil showing what a fairer energy system can look like. Is the climate crisis over? Absolutely not. We're still seeing extreme weather, record emissions, and political backsliding in too many places. But 2025 proved something important. We are not starting from zero. The tools, the money, the policies, and the proof that solutions work are already here. Now the question isn't, can we do this? It's, how fast can we scale what's already working? If this video made you feel even 1% more hopeful about the future, do 2 quick things for the algorithm and for the planet. Hit subscribe to The Green Blueprint and follow on Instagram at @thegreenblueprint_TGB for weekly bite-sized updates, behind the scenes, and simple actions you can take in your own life. And if you're wondering what actually makes a difference in your day-to-day choices, check the link in the description and in our bio. There's a curated list of our favorite sustainable purchases of 2025. Products and swaps that genuinely reduce impact, not just greenwash. Thanks for watching, thanks for caring, and remember, the bad news will always be loud, but the good news is getting bigger every year. See you in the next video and in the new year.